The case of Iwona Wieczorek remains one of the most mysterious and widely discussed disappearances in modern Polish history. Even on smaller news websites, her story attracts tens of thousands of comments. The reward for any helpful information leading to her whereabouts reached up to $500,000. It's no surprise, as the circumstances surrounding her disappearance are deeply unsettling. In 2010, Iwona turned 19. She lived in the city of Gdańsk on the Baltic Sea coast with her mother and stepfather. Iwona had just finished high school and was waiting to start university. She wanted to make the most of her last summer before college, so she and her best friend, Adria, went out partying as much as they could. On the 16th of July, 2010, they went to a house party hosted by Adria's friends. They stayed there until midnight before deciding to head to a nightclub. Joining them were Adria's friends, Paweł and Marek. Paweł showed interest in Iwona, but she wasn't ready for any romantic attention that night. She had recently ended a relationship and wanted some time for herself. Although she didn't know these guys very well and wasn't thrilled about the group, Adria convinced her it would be fun, so Iwona agreed to stay. They drank, danced, and enjoyed the night until a conflict broke out between Iwona and Paweł. The exact reason remains unknown, but after the argument, Iwona no longer wanted to stay at the club. At about 3:07 a.m., surveillance cameras recorded Iwona leaving the club alone. She was barefoot, carrying her high heels, and her hurried walk suggested she was upset. Another camera later captured her walking toward her home. That night, she didn't have enough money for a taxi and was forced to walk around 6 kilometers along the seafront. Along the way, she sent a few text messages, one of them to Adria. Iwona was upset that her friend didn't leave the club with her and chose to stay with the guys instead. Adria read the message around 4 a.m. She later called Iwona, and they apparently made up. Iwona, still a bit drunk, didn't want to go home in that state and asked if she could spend the night at Adria's place. Adria agreed and said she would leave a key under the doormat since her parents were away. Around 4:10 a.m., Iwona texted her mother saying she would stay at her friend's place and come home the next day. When Adria woke up around 5 p.m., she was surprised not to find Iwona there. The key was still under the mat, untouched. She found it odd that Iwona had apparently changed her mind and decided to go home instead. Adria then called Iwona's mother, who was shocked to hear her daughter was missing. Iwona's mother immediately reported her disappearance to the police. However, the authorities initially didn't take it seriously, assuming a 19-year-old girl might easily stay over at another friend's place without informing her family. A whole week passed before the police started treating the case seriously. During this time, Iwona's family and friends anxiously waited for any news. The longer it took, the less hope they had of finding her safe. The media picked up the case quickly. Almost every week, the police held press conferences and volunteers joined the search efforts. The large reward encouraged more people to get involved. Every part of the city was combed through, but no trace of Iwona was found. The police considered two main theories. The first suggested that Iwona, being drunk, may have fallen into the water and drowned. However, thorough searches of the bay revealed no body. The second theory pointed to a possible abduction. One suspect was her ex-boyfriend, Patrick, with whom she had broken up a month earlier. Patrick claimed he was out with friends that night and went home around 1 a.m., but this turned out to be a lie. Multiple witnesses saw him at the club that night. Additionally, phone data showed he was active between 3 and 4 a.m., contradicting his story of being home asleep. When confronted, Patrick changed his story, saying he couldn't remember exactly where he was and might have been driving around with friends. Despite conflicting statements, there was no concrete evidence linking him directly to Iwona's disappearance, so no charges were filed. Another chilling clue came from surveillance footage showing Iwona at 4:12 a.m. still walking along the seafront. But what caught the public's attention was a man seemingly following her. He was carrying a towel over his shoulder and looking around suspiciously. Authorities and the public believed this man could be the last person to see her or even involved in her disappearance. His image was shown on national television, newspapers, and everywhere online. Shockingly, despite all the publicity, no one identified him. He never came forward, and neither did any friends or family. This added to the suspicion. If he was innocent, why hide? The spot where he appeared on camera marked the end of the busy promenade. From there, Iwona would have entered a quieter, park-like area. making it easier for someone to attack her and disappear unseen. One theory suggested the man might not have been local and could have been involved in human trafficking. Some believe he could have kidnapped Iwona to sell her abroad, but he was never identified, and the theory remains speculative. For years, the investigation stalled until 2017. 7 years after Iwona's disappearance, a private detective agency came up with a new theory after re-examining surveillance footage. On the morning of her disappearance, a garbage truck that usually collected beach trash took an unusual detour. Instead of heading straight back to base, it drove toward a storm drain area and stayed there briefly before returning on schedule. Detectives suggested that something might have happened between Iwona and the workers. Perhaps she was harmed, even accidentally, and they decided to hide her body. The theory proposed that her body was loaded into the truck and later dumped into the storm drains. One frame from the footage supposedly showed a shape resembling a human body in the back of the truck. This reignited public interest. The garbage workers were questioned and admitted they had seen Iwona walking, but insisted they had no interaction with her. Their story was nearly impossible to disprove after so many years. There were also flaws in the theory. The workers would have had very little time to commit such an act and dispose of her body, and the supposed body could have simply been trash. The agency submitted their findings to the prosecutor's office, but the police found no solid evidence to support it. To this day, Iwona's mother refuses to give up hope. While her daughter's body has never been found, she still believes someone, whether police, private detectives, or even a stranger hoping to claim the reward, will one day bring Iwona back home alive. For now, this case remains one of Poland's most heartbreaking and unsolved mysteries.